branches spread so broadly and so densely they hid the light of the heavens. No stars.
Well, hello, Adam Hassel. It's good to talk with you. What is your role at Oasis? What do you do?
I am a director and audio engineer for audiobooks.
What does that mean?
Uh, it means I wear a lot of hats,
Okay.
and some projects I'm just an editor. Some projects I am, uh, in the studio working with the talent. Sometimes I get to work with Foley and sound effects and music and things like that. So basically means that anything to do with sound, I'm the guy doing it.
You're the man. That's
I
wonderful.
am a man, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you're good at this because I met you when I was recording a book, and you did an amazing job taking care of me and helping me learn what to do and not to like that or too loud and all of that. So you did a great job.
Well, it's one of the perks of the job is to get to meet amazing new people such as yourself. So,
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun. You did a great job. So I just want to, a lot of people listen to audiobooks, but not a lot of people know how they're made. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about what that process is like. Um,
sure.
so walk me through the basic recording process. Is this basically like we see when we see musicians recording in a studio, or are there different things about it?
There's, definitely a few different ways that you could go about it. Um, Basically, the narrator will get lined up with the project. So, the once the book is decided on and they've decided on the narrator, they'll get lined up. Um, Sometimes a narrator may record at home if they have a home set up,
Okay.
which is becoming more and more common in the industry nowadays.
Okay.
Or they might come into a studio to record with someone like me, where I'll be on one side of the glass, they'll be on the other side of the glass, and I'll be listening along and following along and providing feedback. And once there's a couple different recording methods. They could be doing straight record or they could be doing punch and roll, which, um, just technical things, ways to
What does
go to
that mean?
tackle. Well, straight record is kind of like when you sit down and you hit record,
Hmm.
and you'll make a mistake because everybody makes mistakes.
Right.
Um, you can either during straight record you would just pick it up and take the sentence again, and then the editor would be going back later and taking out all those mistakes. Or you
Okay.
could be doing what's called punch and roll, where you would essentially stop the recording, highlight and delete the mistake, and then go back, and the narrator will listen to a few seconds of what was said before, and then they'll continue recording at the punch point.
Right.
um, both methods are used. I want to say punch and roll is a lot more prominent in the industry now. But so once they've gotten through the entire book, all 8 hours or 12 hours or 40 hours or whatever it's going to be, then uh, I will go back and edit everything up, make sure that all the silences, all the pauses are appropriate, everything's sounding good, there's no distortion, and then it'll go into the mastering process, so where we, clean up any lip smacks or pops, or
Yeah.
just kind of make everything sound pleasing to the ear, so people can continue listening to it as long as they like without their ears getting tired. Um, and then once we've done that, it'll go to a quality check person, and she will listen through the whole thing, uh, and send me back any notes, and then I'll fix those notes, and then it's out of my hands. I forward it on to our various distributors and
Mm,
hope that people enjoy it.
that's wonderful. And so, one of the things that surprised me when I was recording with you was even stomach sounds, like things that you could barely hear
Oh
would
yeah.
show up in the recording. And if a chair creaks or whatever, there's a lot to be aware of in there.
Yep, there have been multiple occasions where I've had to stop the recording to find and eliminate a house fly because you
Oh,
could hear it in the microphone.
wow. That's crazy. There was something else you told me I couldn't bring in there. I can't remember what it was, but it was something I didn't even think about making a sound. And so. Do you
Like jewelry sometimes will do it.
jewelry? Yeah.
Smart devices seem to be a big problem here lately. People have their watches and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, so as you look at that process, what's the most challenging part? What do you love the most?
Uh, what I love the most is getting goosebumps.
Oh.
So like when I'm working with a narrator and like, we just really nailed down that, when Harry and Sally are at the
Mhm.
airport or wherever they're at, and you
Yeah.
just really hit that the timing of the emotion, the intensity,
Oh.
and you just kind of like you get immersed in the scene and you kind of just sit back and go, yeah, this is a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I'm doing like sound effects and I find just the right music and the right footsteps and all of it, and it all comes together, and I sit there and listen to it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a good one. Like this worked out.
That's amazing. So it's an art form, really.
It can be
Yeah.
on the good days.
On the good days.
Yeah,
Well, it's so different from what you hear about AI voices just picking up a text and reading it because this is real human emotion, real
yeah.
intentionality about every word, and I love
I've
that.
heard a few of the AI voices, and it's really hard. Like
Hmm.
I find that most people just kind of tune out after like a few seconds. Like there's just nothing for your brain to grab onto.
It's uncanny valley, I think, a little bit. Yeah. So, what are some things that new narrators have to learn when they're coming into the studio?
The first thing, well, there's a difference, I want to say, between an author who's never narrated before
Mhm.
and someone who wants to begin a narration career.
Okay.
For the person who wants to begin a narration career, I always say, go out and listen.
Hmm.
Just find people that you like and listen to how they're approaching the process, how they're handling their character voices, how they're handling their cadence and their intensity, and how are they navigating action sequences,
Yeah.
how are they navigating accents, you know
Wow.
because I think a lot of people, you just learn by like
Hmm.
copying other people. It's the same in music, when
Hmm.
you're a jazz musician, like you go out and you listen to other jazz musicians and you find what you like.
That's
um it's same with narrators. And I also think that finding your fatigue limit is also a really important thing, because it's a very subtle switch and it's
mhm.
kind of hard to self-identify when you're new at this. When you're in that fourth hour, and I think there's so many of us that just want to push through and
Yeah.
keep going, but your brain, your focus is a muscle, and it does have limits. And
Yeah.
so finding out what that limit is really important.
That's wonderful. I love to hear that. Yep. After a while, your voice can get tired, your body can get tired. I don't know why your body gets tired when you're narrating for a long time, but I've sometimes I go to bed and I feel like
Yeah.
after narrating, I feel like I've run a race. It's
Yeah. It's
wonderful,
exhausting.
exhausting, yeah. So,
I mean, it's that continued focus. I mean, we
yep.
just don't employ focus in that way in
Yeah.
our society.
You're right. That's a good point. I remember you telling me that there's also a difference in if you're recording a children's book versus an adult book and how animated and how extreme your character voices can be. Is that right?
Yep. Yes. I find that um, most books that are targeted towards like an older demographic tend to have like less zany
Yeah.
characters. Some of your most well-known narrators, who I won't name, they tend to have very subtle characters. I mean, just the slightest little difference to differentiate between like the male main character and the female main character.
I like that. I like that. Do you like that?
I think it depends on the book. Like,
Yeah.
certainly different approaches are appropriate for different projects.
That's a little more of a British trait, I think, when I think of Mark Rylance and Michael Kitchen, just the li one little muscle, just
Yeah.
is twitching, and you're like, okay.
One of my favorite audiobooks ever was narrated by Jeremy Irons. and it's like just the most acting ever, but like it's just also organic. Like it doesn't sound like he's doing character voices. It's just fantastic.
That's wonderful. I'll have to check that out. So, how much difference does your equipment make? You know, you see a lot of podcasters and stuff with their, or not podcasters, video, I guess, influencers,
Yeah,
or with their little bitty mic, fuzzy mics, and cute. They're so,
yeah.
and those are useful for some things. But does equipment really matter very much when you're recording?
Yeah, the fuzzy mics, so those are actually lav mics, and they're meant to be
Um,
clipped here. I think that that became like a social media trend because like somebody had it and they were using it. But I think that it brings up a really good point, which is your equipment is not as important as what your equipment is capturing.
Okay.
So, uh, just from like a quality standpoint, I think that kind of most people in the industry are looking for what's called a large diaphragm cardioid condenser microphone. Um,
That's a
but
mouthful.
beyond that, yeah, it is. Beyond that, though, I know a lot of people really get in the weeds of like, oh, what's going to sound the best with my voice, or like, oh, this person's using this microphone, so that's the best microphone. I have to use that one.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter that much because we have a lot of tools that we can use in post production. Um, And at the end of the day, the performance is, the primary thing that people are listening for. I've never met someone that was like, yeah, the narration was fine, but wow, the audio quality,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
nobody cares.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. The heart behind it. When I was at the studio here recording a book, Benjamin took a little bit of time to show me this is the NPR mic. Like, listen, this is
Oh,
the one they usually use. Listen to what this sounds like. And it was kind of interesting. I don't think you would notice unless you were right there hearing them one after the other, but it was
yeah.
super interesting hearing the different tones and everything that they.
He's got some fantastic microphones at his disposal that you could make Grammy winning recordings with, and I
Yeah,
would love to work with them at some point in my life, but we'll see.
yeah, yeah.
I'm mostly going to be using large diaphragm cardioid condenser microphones.
That's crazy. That is amazing. Okay, so any favorite projects? Well, I don't want this to go too long, but I would like to know before we close
Yeah,
what you've loved working
I
on or funny stories.
I thought about this for a while actually, and I have to say, um, it was like 3 years ago. I had the opportunity to record the New Living Translation Bible, and it was intense. We had about 3 months to finish the whole project,
Yeah,
and the narrator that we hired was a professor at Wheaton College, and we spent 12-hour days, 6 days a week together
wow.
that whole summer. And
Wow.
um, we went back and we re-recorded things that we didn't like at the end of the day, and it was just we sat there, and every day was a
Mm,
theology lesson and kind of a lesson in humanity and um, uh, I don't know, just humbleness and
mm,
I don't know, just opening ourselves up and seeing what comes. So I probably that was the hardest project I've ever worked on, the most rewarding project I've ever worked on, and
mm.
I learned the most
Oh,
just powering through the whole Bible in 3 months.
that's amazing. I have an interesting story about that project. My mom and dad,
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
they were doing, I don't remember if it was with the Navigators or something. They were doing some kind of Bible study, and they were like, we're just listening to the excerpts, and there's this wonderful narrator. And I said, who is it? And they just like, this is my favorite recording I've ever heard of the Bible. And it was, I said, well, guess what? When they told me this was our company. Oh,
That's
did this.
amazing.
Yeah, it was
I
really,
love that.
yeah. I should have told you sooner, probably.
Yeah, we there's so many recordings of the Bible out there, and
Mm,
there are also several versions of the NLT already out there.
mm,
And so kind of when we approached it, we were like, how can we make this unique and different and speak to people?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to hear what David would have. He would have been hiding in a cave, terrified. Like, I want to hear that passion. I want to hear Paul in prison, like in complete surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried to, without being theatrical or corny or anything like that. Like, we tried to speak a little power into it, and I think it came across well.
Oh, I got a little teary. That's beautiful. This is what I love about recording audiobooks. This is what I've loved about learning about this process. And, I know that technically there are a lot of ways to get the words of a book into a recording. But after my first exposure being with you and being at Oasis Audio and seeing the art and the heart and the fullness of what this can really be, you all set the standard pretty high. I can tell when people are I can tell
Yeah,
when people are putting a
we're
book
doing our
together.
best.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Thank you for spending time with me today. It's been super
Yeah,
entertaining, and you are the best. So, can we see your dog?
yeah. She's really, really trying to get in on this interview right now.
Okay. Okay. Oh, there.
Yeah,
She's passed out.
she's a
Poor
big,
dog.
big
Oh,
ham.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Adam. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
All right,
Bye
bye.
bye.